Okay, so today you're going to have a go at doing an edit in the style of Marcelo Monreal, who uses flowers and portraits. To start off with, you are going to need to make sure that you have saved your photos in network shares. I would suggest saving them in two separate folders, so one for flowers and one for portraits. We're going to start off with the flower photos. As you can see, mine have opened quite small, so to make them a little bit bigger, I'm going to go to View, Show View Options, and then I'm going to drag this to make them look a little bit bigger. So you're going to select your best image. So I'm going to start with this flower to begin with. I am going to use one of each type of flower, so just select your best ones. So I'm going to go with this one first. I'm then going to take this image and drag it down to this icon here. So this is your Photoshop icon. So drag it in there. What I'm going to do now is unlock the layer, and the first thing I'm going to do is go down to my adjustment layers. So this is the small circle, it's half black, half white. I'm going to click on this and go to where it says brightness and contrast. So what I'm trying to do here is increase the contrast between the flower and the background, just so it makes it a little bit easier to cut it out. Next thing I'm going to do is come down to my quick selection tool. So I'm going to click on this, make sure it says add to selections, the one that has a cross next to it. And then if I click here, I can adjust my brush size. I'll make that a little bit bigger. Let's try that. So all I'm going to do is select the flower. I don't want anything in the background. As you can see now, there's marching ants going around the outside of the flower. Next thing I'm going to do is select the Select and Mask tool, which is up here. And then I'm going to come down to this tool here that says Refine Edge Brush Tool. I'm now going to come over to the right of the screen and select Overlay, which then turns my background to red. Now, because my flower is pink, it's quite difficult to sort of differentiate between the flower and the background. So where it says colour here, I'm going to change this to a different colour just so that I can see sort of the difference. I'm going to come up to my brush tool size and again make that a little bit bigger so I can see it. There we go. And then I'm going to zoom in and just go around the outside of the flower. And what this is going to do is pick up all those fine little bits of detail that the previous tool may have missed. So just going around small sections at a time. And you can just see how it's picking up all those little bits. Okay, once you're happy, you can click OK. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Select Inverse. And this is now going to select everything but the flower. And then we're going to press the backspace. Oh, no, we're not. Make sure you click on the layer and then we're going to click backspace. This has now removed the background. So if we go back to select and then inverse, this has now selected the flower. So this means in a minute, we can then drag this flower onto the portrait. I'm going to go back to where it says brightness and contrast and select that and just drag it back into the bin because I don't actually need it. So that is now one flower done and cut out, ready for putting onto the portrait. What I'm going to do next is go to File and then New. And I'm just going to set myself up with a blank canvas. So you can see I've got my first flower and then I've got my second flower. I'm going to go back into my network shares and this time pick a different image. So I'm going to try this flower. So again, I'm going to drag that in to Photoshop. Click the tick at the top. And I'm going to remove this background layer. Can you see how there is on the layer, there is a small square that has popped up? To remove that, if you right click and go down to where it says rasterize layer, it will remove that for you. So I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Okay. Select OK. And then same thing again. So I need to make sure I've clicked on the image that's got the picture. Select, inverse, remove the background, select, inverse again. So that's now ready to be copied. And then I'm going to go and take my layer and put that in the bin. I'm going to do this one more time with the last flower image. Okay, so I've got my 3 different flowers now saved. I'm now going to add or work on the portrait. I'm going to change this to portrait. And then I need to go find the image that I want to use. So again, I'm going to make this bigger. Okay, I think I'm going to choose this image. Okay, so first thing I need to do is decide which part of the model's face I want to sort of remove so that I can then add in the flowers. So I'm going to go to this tool here, which is your lasso tool. And then I'm going to basically decide which part of the face I want to sort of pull out. And I'm going to follow the contours of her face. So I'm going to come down the centre of her nose and then sort of round it off and then come out and follow the cheek and then back up to the top. Okay, so I've now selected that part and I'm going to press Command J, which is then move that onto a separate layer. So if I just show that layer, I've now got that layer separate. So I can move that part of the face on that top layer if I want to. What I'm now going to do is go back to my first flower. In fact, I'm going to go and choose this flower and I'm going to select it and press Command C. So I've now copied that and then Command V to paste it. So you can see this is now on its own separate layer. If I move it around. So if you select Show Transform Controls, this allows you then to change the size of it. So I'm going to make it smaller, but I want to keep it in proportion. So I'm going to hold down Shift as I then drag it smaller. And this just means that it stays in proportion. And then I'm going to click tick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag layer 1 above layer 2. And then when I click back on layer 2, which is my flower layer, this will then go behind that section that I have cut out. Okay, I'm going to try going for lots of small flowers. So to copy and paste it again, I need to press Command C and then Command V to paste. I'm going to add in the rows, so Command C and then paste Command V. And again, it's gone really, really big. So I'm going to make sure my Show Transform controls are on, hold down Shift and make that smaller. Okay, so pretty happy with that so far. However, what I'm going to do now is add something called a drop shadow. So I'm going to go into layer number 1 and double click If I drag this to the right, I'm then going to click where it says drop shadow. I'm going to click that box, and then I'm going to click just about there. So what this is going to do, this is going to add a shadow underneath to make it look as if that part of the face is moving away from the rest of the face. So you can play around with the settings so you can make it really dark. Let me go for about 40. I can change the angle that the shadow is being cast. Okay, very happy with that. What I think I'm going to do now is have a go at keeping the flowers in colour but changing the portrait to black and white. So I'm going to come onto the portrait layer and I'm going to click the adjustment layers, and I'm going to go to where it says black and white, and then I'm going to play around with these. Until I get something that I'm happy with. Okay. I'm also going to play around with brightness and contrast. Okay, so now I'm going to come up to layer 1. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go to black and white, play around with the levels to make sure that I'm happy with it. So as you can see, the flowers have now turned black and white, which is not the desired effect that I was after. So what I'm going to do is where it says black and white 2, I'm going to right click on that and press create clipping mask. This will then attach that adjustment layer onto the layer underneath, which then creates this effect. Okay, so once you're happy with your edit, you then need to make sure you save it. So you need to click File, Save As. You're going to save it as a JPEG. You're going to give it a name, and then you're going to make sure you save it somewhere you can find. So I'm going to save this onto my desktop, and then you're going to click Save, and then OK. This will then save onto my desktop.